Does 3.5 years on Booktube qualify me to be a Booktube oldie? I'm not sure, but I've been tagged to do this tag, so I'm going to do it. I'm Jack, this is Spread Book Joy, and if you've never been here before, I'd consider liking, perhaps sticking around, commenting. That would all help the channel. And I was tagged by my lovely friend Gareth over at Book Songs and Other Magic, who's one of the nicest people on Booktube, and he tagged me to do this Booktube Oldies tag. The original tag was by Monica Kim, and I'll link that as well in the description box below, and it's kind of a play on the Booktube newbie tag, but it's the Booktube oldie tag. So if you've been around Booktube for a while, then it's one to do, and I've seen quite a few people doing this. It's been doing the rounds for a few weeks now, and I was tagged quite a while ago by Gareth, so I thought I'd sit down and try and get that answered today. So let's get on with it. Question number 1, how long have you been part of the Booktube community? Well, the channel, Spread Book Joy, it was 4 years old in February, but I didn't post my first video until September 2020. But I don't really feel like I was really taking part in the community then. I was still watching loads of my favourite booktubers over on my personal YouTube channel, which I have a lot of people that I follow, that I started following because they gave me the inspiration to start the channel. Really, it wasn't really a booktube channel, it was more of a teaching focused channel, kind of which books to recommend to teachers who are busy planning ideas for using those books, etc, etc. And then I was like getting real FOMO about all the lovely discussions that were going on and the people talking about their own reading, and I wanted to talk about my own reading. So a few months after shouting into the ether and nothing happening with my kind of Spread Book Joy teaching children's book kind of thing, I started posting about my own reading, and that was kind of January 2021. And yeah, so I kind of then did the Booktube newbie tag, got a load of people welcoming me. I then started getting people shouting me out, which was really kind because it gave me a kind of boost, and also got me to meet some of the people who I'm still friends with now. One person who I'm going to have to mention on this is because through her I met lots of other lovely booktubers who I talk to on the regular, and that was Julie over at Hungry Bookworm. I met Julie on Instagram, I believe, so she was trying to grow her Instagram, and on Instagram I already had a bigger kind of a following on Instagram than I did over on Booktube, and she started watching my videos, and then she asked if I wanted to be on her channel, and she at that point had about 1,000 subscribers. I had probably about 60, I don't even know, I had very few, and she asked if I wanted to be on her channel, so she featured me as some booktubers. She started doing that for newer booktubers, and I met Emily from Novell Novels that way. I think I met Alice from Alice in a Giant Bookshelf that way as well, who has, you know, become someone who I read with constantly, and people I chat to every day who become real friends who I've met in real life. So yeah, Julie gave up her channel for a while, but she's come back and she's got another channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout Julie's channel out. She has gone through many iterations, but I believe she's now back to Hungry Bookworm, so I'll link that in the description box below, so please go and follow her, because currently her new Hungry Bookworm channel has only got 249 subscribers. So yeah, go follow Julie. She was so welcoming and helpful when I started my journey, and she like epitomised like what the community is about. I was also shouted out by Scott over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, who is wonderful and one of the most funny and knowledgeable booktubers, especially about literary fiction out there. So yeah, Scott and Nell, because they were running the channel together at that time, they shouted me out too. And yeah, I've had a few shout outs from people that have boosted my ratings and over the years, but in the beginning those were the people that did that. I can't remember if I feel like Emily shouted me out on her channel as well. I can't remember if that's the case, but Emily, if you did, thank you. But yes, if it wasn't for the community, my channel wouldn't be where it is. So yeah, so whilst the channel is 4 years old, I've really been part of the community probably for just over 3 years, I would say. Number 2, what was your biggest misconception before starting Booktube? That I wouldn't make any friends. I wasn't actually out to make any friends. That Booktube and having a channel and being part of the community wasn't about people. It wasn't that I didn't think that, I just didn't assume that when I got to Booktube, when I started with Booktube, that I would meet friends, and they are real friends, and I talk to them every day, and I love talking to them. I found my tribe in terms of books, because I've got people I talk to about books in real life, but not everybody in my real life I talk to about reading to the extent that I want to talk about books. So I've met people who are completely as mad as me when it comes to reading and books. They get it, they get what I do. They don't look at me like I'm insane because I've read more than 5 books in a year, and I'm so grateful for that. So my biggest misconception was that this would be a hobby that was quite solitary, and that I'd have people who watch my videos, but I wouldn't make connections. I didn't even think about the connections that would make, and I've made some amazing connections and real friendships. Number 3, how do you think Booktube has changed since you first started? Shorts, YouTube Shorts, because I really like YouTube for long form video, and it's the same as Instagram. Instagram introduced Reels not long after because of TikTok. So I didn't want to BookTok. I didn't want to go on TikTok. I don't get it. I don't like short form silly videos as I saw them. And it took me a while to see the value in shorts or Reels. But the platforms I'm on, YouTube is long form for me. Shorts are fun. I think they're fun, and I've done some 30-day challenges where I've posted. I'm doing one at the moment, posting 30 picture books a day for my picture book readathon. But yeah, that's what's changed, and that emphasis on shorts and short form video, I feel like that is the biggest change in YouTube. And Booktube, less of a focus on how much people read. I feel like, for me personally, my journey has moved well away from stats and counting things and everything else. I know some people still do that. They still like to measure what they've read. I don't, but I feel like a lot of people are moving away from those sort of numerical goals with reading, and that kind of push to read more and more and more. When I first started with Booktube, I started looking at Booktube channels because I wanted to know how I could read more. Like, I wanted to be able to speed read so that I could read more, because I've got so many books I wanted to read. And it's not because I wanted to read a certain number, but because I felt like I didn't have enough time in my life for reading. So how can I read quickly or read more? So yeah, that kind of drive to just read more and more and to think about the numbers, I think that's kind of moved away from it. Booktube seems to have moved away from that quite a bit, I think. 4, what is your favourite Booktube memory? I've got quite a few, but I have to say that, and this goes back to thinking about how the community has helped me to grow my channel, was when I took part in Jane Austen Task Mistress over on Claudia's channel, Spinster's Library. That was one of the best things I've done since being on Booktube, by far. So that involved, if you've ever watched Taskmaster, Claudia created a load of Taskmaster style things about Jane Austen that I competed in, and we did it all for charity. So what she decided to do was she'd put this video together. She'd had a series of tasks that she sent me and 3 other booktubers. Actually, one guy wasn't a booktuber, but Katie from Books and Things was one of the people, and Risha from For the Love of Classics, and there was this other guy who was really sweet who didn't have a Booktube channel, but he was just a bit like, he was lovely. So we all had to do these tasks, and when Claudia edited it and put it together, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on Booktube, hands down. And I was really proud to be part of it because I felt like I was making a complete fool of myself when I was filming these tasks. So funny, so funny. I'm going to link that video. So what Claudia did was she donated her ad revenue from that video. So yeah, go and watch it. It was really good fun. And yeah, I'd love to do something like that again because that was just hilarious. Question 5, what are some books you've been introduced to because of Booktube? Well, because I'm such an eclectic reader, a lot of the books that I've read since being on Booktube that I've read because of being on Booktube, because it's given me the impetus to join reading groups, etc., are things that I've kind of wanted to read for a while. So I can't really say Booktube made me read them. One thing that definitely I read because, not Booktube but Bookstagram, was ACOTAR, The Court of Thorns and Roses, Sarah J. Maas. And I actually had fun reading those. They were more like a kind of, I won't say they were a hate read because they were not, I didn't hate them, but the characters, the writing, I found them not really for me. The steaminess of those books, shall we say, is not really me either, but I thought they were fun and they were really readable and I just wanted to know what happened. I read the first 3. I tried to read the 4th one, which was like a Christmas one at the time. I think there's been another book out since. The 4th one was just so dull as ditch water for me. It was a real fan's book. But yeah, so I definitely read that because of Booktube. And then I tried to read Crescent City and that was just awful and I hated it. So yeah, Sarah J. Maas isn't really my favourite, but I read those books because of the Booktube and Bookstagram. I wouldn't have read them otherwise. The other things that I've read that I really love, that I'm grateful for, is Heartstopper. Not that I hadn't seen them about, because who hasn't seen Heartstopper about, but I read them because of Booktube, because the love for Heartstopper on here was just so like immense, because I'm not a YA reader generally, and I did see this as quite a YA thing, but no, they're very special. And Thomas Hardy. So next month it's Misery May again, which is the second year that Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot and Gemma from Gemma Books are running Misery May, all about miserable books. And they read what was it? Which Hardy was it? Jude the Obscure, which I've got over there, but I couldn't find on my shelves. So I picked up Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which I have read. I read this book at A-level and I hated it with a passion. I don't know why I've kept it all these years, because this is my A-level copy, because you can see there's all my scribblings in it. But I am going to read Tess at some point. But I swore I would never read Thomas Hardy again. Don't know why I kept the book. I think it was because it was an A-level book. I quite like my old scribblings and stuff. But yes, I would never have read Thomas Hardy again if it hadn't been for Gemma and for Scott and for Booktube, because I really enjoyed Far From the Madding Crowd and Jude the Obscure, and I will reread Tess of the D'Urbervilles at some point. So Booktube made me read those. The other thing that I got really, really into, and I would never have read if it wasn't for Booktube, or even for some of these authors heard of if it wasn't for Booktube, and that is kind of mid-20th century women writers. Gina Stania, over at her channel, she calls them her ladies, her kind of mid-20th century ladies. And I would never have, first of all, heard of these authors if it hadn't been for Booktube, and secondly, even thought about reading them. Authors like Barbara Pym. I haven't read this one yet. This is Jane and Prudence, which was a present from lovely Angie's Book Chatter last year, which I can't wait to read. I'm currently reading a Barbara Pym at the moment with my lovely friend Marilyn over at Marilyn Maya Mendoza, her channel. Elizabeth Taylor. I still haven't read any Elizabeth Taylor, but I really want to. And these are all these kind of mid-20th century female writers who write with such humour, and they're so, like, their characters, they're just so spot on. They write about the lives of women as well, and I'm just really, really happy that I've started reading these authors. Another author I wouldn't have read if it wasn't for Booktube is E.M. Forster, and again, that kind of 20th century classics. You know, these are early 20th century. A lot of E.M. Forster is early 20th century. So yeah, those books I feel I would never have picked up if it wasn't for Booktube. E.M. Forster, of course, I'd heard of, but I was never... Actually, I think I'd always wanted to read Howard's End, and I did read Howard's End. I've now since read A Room with a View, and I'm looking forward to more Forster. But yeah, I don't think I'd have picked up, definitely not any Barbara Pym, if it wasn't for Booktube. The other author that I loved was Elizabeth von Arnhem, who wrote The Enchanted April, another kind of mid-20th century or early 20th century female writer. So yeah, I love those. The ladies, as Gina calls them. Number 6, what is something that frustrates you about Booktube? That I don't have enough time to watch everybody's videos. I get to a point where I have not watched some people's videos for a while because I've been too busy. And what I've been doing is prioritising reading over watching Booktube. And then I start to see the videos that I haven't seen mounting up, particularly from my friends who I always try and watch everything they produce because they're so good. And then I get kind of overwhelmed with it. So what kind of frustrates me about Booktube isn't Booktube itself, it's that I don't have enough time to watch everybody's videos and comment. Sometimes I actually watch and don't comment. I think watch hours though, they're valid, right? So what I might start doing, because I really like to put a proper comment when I watch people's videos to show that I've been listening, and often I've got something I need to say to them because something has sparked something in me to want to write some nice comments and to ask questions or to state things. But I think what I might start doing is, because sometimes I put off watching because I don't have time to comment, and that's a bit silly. So what I might start doing, if you have a YouTube channel and you're someone I watch, I might start watching you and just leaving a few emojis at some point, because it means that while I'm doing stuff I can have YouTube on and Booktube on in the background, and at least I can leave something just to say, look, I've been here, I've watched, I've listened, and and giving you the thumbs up and all those kinds of things, like hit the like button and etc. And number 7, what is your hope for the future of Booktube? Just that it keeps evolving, that we keep having interesting discussions, because I think it's the discussions that really keep Booktube alive, that I keep meeting wonderful people. This past year we've had a few meetups of UK booktubers, and I'm really looking forward to more of that in the future. We're going to start trying to do different places other than London, which is good because there are a lot of UK booktubers based in the north of England and in Scotland and Wales, and places where they can't get to London. London's very, if you don't know the UK geography, London's very much in the southeast, in the south, so it's difficult for a lot of people to get to for a day. If we can try and meet somewhere central, that might work. I think we're going to look at York next time, which I'm very excited about. I've never been to York, but yes, I'm just hoping that for my channel on Booktube that I continue to enjoy making content and enjoy meeting people, and yeah, that's it. So if you enjoyed this rambling nonsense and you've never been here before, it might put you off subscribing, but maybe subscribe anyway and see if you like some of my other content. If you are got to this far in the video and you want to leave me a TV emoji, because this is all about Booktube and YouTube, I suppose, in general, let me know you're here by doing that, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye!